Research has revealed that Jamaica's birth rate is declining, but our mortality age is increasing. Will Jamaicans be able to support themselves after retiring at 65? Well, for the women, for the rest of their living years, I think the men gone up to 70 now. Or will they have to go back to work? Professor Denise Eldemire-Shearer is with us. She's the Executive Director of the Mona Aging and Wellness Center, and she's going to weigh in on this developing state of affairs. Good morning.
Good morning.
Morning,
Welcome
Prof.
to Smile Jamaica.
Good morning. I'm very
It's,
well, thank you.
Great to see you. I suspect it's a good news, bad news that David just read just now, that the birth rate is declining. Is not great news, but we're living longer, which is great news.
But is it not great news when the thing is that this discussion around the birth rate and the population actually started 40-odd years ago when the Family Planning Board, remember, 2 is better than too many?
Yep.
Bev Brown and Judy Smith.
You remember? So this whole thing about where population was to go, we've actually achieved, and we should be celebrating that we achieved a goal that was set so many years ago. We can't look at it only as the birth rate or the older people. We have to look at it as to what size population can the country sustain. We're talking about increasing the birth rate as a possibility. What's going to happen about water? We don't have enough water for the 2.9. What's going to happen about the roads? So it has to be a total discussion.
So you're saying it's good news, good news?
I am, in that we have achieved something we set out. And we're talking about it now. But if you look at the writings coming out of the university and Mona Aging and Wellness, we've been signaling, I mean, I did my PhD in 93 and it's in my PhD, that this is going to happen. Because we saw the decline. Education, as you educate your population, as you educate your women, you are going to see them making choices to stay in the workforce or to do things and have 2, maybe 3 children. They're not going to have 6 and 7. As you increase the public health measures, remember, children died of gastro. Children are not dying of gastro now, so they're going to live. So there are a lot of celebrations within what has happened. But the good thing is that we're now focusing on the fact that this is a declining population. It has not yet hit the work age, which is the 25 to 55. But we also now have an increased older population. We're talking about 375,000 older people. Now, if you increase the birth rate, you're going to increase that older population in 40 or 50 years. Do we have the health services for them? So there's a lot of other parts to this discussion.
Yep.
And I just welcome the Minister opening up and broadening the discussion. I'm celebrating that the discussion has started.
Yeah. Well, let's talk a little bit about that. One of the challenges I find, I might be wrong, is as you said, we do not have enough support systems and services for older people in Jamaica. What is there for them to do? What are the activities?
Exactly, and that's what this discussion now about retirement is about.
Yeah.
And no one is saying that people must work, but there must be choices, or there can be choices. Because there are some older people who would like to retire, who want to go home and help with grandchildren, help with church activities. The other big issue in the discussion is that older people do want to retire, because with retirement comes the lump sum payment. You can pay off the mortgage, you can pay off the debts. So this discussion about keeping older persons in the workforce has also to do with the fact that older people are no longer sick. If you think about the older people in your lives, this is, at 65, 70, when in the 1960s, you were a bit frail. Older people are no longer frail. And in fact, the 2011 study tells us that 92% are still mentally and physically functional. So it's about how can they fill the gaps that are being created in the workforce with less. It's not about taking away jobs from younger people. So it's about creating creative. Can you use your retirees to come in when somebody goes on leave? Can you have contracts of 4 hours where they can fill in? It's about a discussion as to what can be done that facilitates this group. I mean, you have all these people now retiring from academia because they must retire. Do we have enough younger academics to do the PhD supervisions, or do some of us continue to supervise?
Yep.
And what are those arrangements?
The other thing Delia said in the opening is that there was a question if we can afford to retire, because it would also depend on how long you live after you retire. Because if you retire at 65 and you live to be 95 and 100, can you handle 30, 35 years of not getting a steady income?
And with a decreased family size, can the family help to support you? And that's an important point, because at age 60, your life expectancy actually increases. So we have a life expectancy of, it varies depending which publication, but it ranges from 74 to 78. At age 60, you have reduced the risks from trauma and all of that. You have 20 to 25 years to live after age 60. Mm-hmm. So one, can you support yourself? And that's a long time to sit doing nothing. I mean, and we are promoting healthy aging. We're promoting functional aging. So we need things for older people to do.
What's functional aging?
Is that you continue to function, that you can brush your teeth, that you can, in other words, you don't need to be cared for.
Yeah.
You and I are functionally aging.
Thank God.
Thank God, exactly.
but there's also a reality, Doc, of like I've known someone who planned wisely. They had the pension and everything, but then by the time they retired, inflation was so much that what they planned for could not sustain them.
And not only that, health insurance often does not continue into retirement. There are not many places you've had health insurance. So it's also an educational. There's an educational component to this. Are you going to take out health insurance when you're 50? I mean, my thought on this one is most parents are paying for children up to a certain age. Can the children then put the older people on the insurance when the children come off? Because you're used to paying. So that's why I say it's a discussion. The insurance companies haven't bought that necessarily. So there's a lot of pieces to this discussion. But you're right. And that's why other forms of employment become significant. How can I get a little bit of money to boost what's coming in? The other thing too is that most older people, and let us recognize it is the older people that own the house. Quite often the children are in the older person's house. And you can, when you drive around, you can see which are these houses. They need painting, they need various things. So it's about looking at opportunities, NHT, etc., as to how to. You're right. It's a much bigger discussion than just.
It is.
And how do we support 375,000 older people and growing, recognizing that frailty, ill health can happen, but is more predominant in the over 80. So you have a group, it's about 80,000, that you are going to need services for. We will have to develop long-term care. We have no choice. It's costly. So again, that's another element to this discussion of what do we do with the aging of the population.
Very well explained. Great to see you. I love you.
Too. I love you too. And you.
Them go and pay me enough for say what I want.
No one said we can handle it.
We can handle it.
Yeah, we can handle it. Say it.
Executive Director of the Mona Aging and Wellness Center, Professor Denise Eldemire-Shearer.
All right, folks, up next, a look at developments in Haiti since the installation of the Transitional Council. Boy, interesting discussion. Haiti can't take any more.